But you know what was nice to come home to, Ethan?
What's that?
David Jones-Garcia
Right.
signing a two-way contract with the San Antonio Spurs today. A little bit surprising, I will say. I think you and I had kind of felt like he had done enough, as much as it was just summer league, to kind of
Hmm.
earn that final one of the open roster spots that is still available, but did sign a two-way today. Shams Charania reported it a little bit earlier. Averaged 22 points per game in summer league, as well as 6 rebounds and 53% on threes. Definitely excited to see him in Austin. Definitely very happy that he signed with us, whether it was a two
Hmm.
way or an actual roster spot. But was a little bit surprised there. I mean, I will say there's probably some veteran names out there that we can go get, but I think what I would say, the reason that I'm more surprised we didn't give him a full contract is because I felt like if we didn't, somebody else would.
Yeah, I totally agree. And honestly, he may have been offered one. This is complete speculation, but based on his interviews and post game stuff, it sounds like he really is comfortable with San Antonio, the infrastructure of the organization, and his teammates. So maybe he was offered a full extension or contract with another team, Jude. But I think he probably thinks he has high potential to actually play meaningful basketball here in San Antonio, which is nice to see.
Yeah, and we've talked about it with Mamu,
Hmm.
Champagny, Drew Eubanks, even Dominic Barlow. As much as some of those guys like Dom Beasy might still be on a two-way, those guys have had consistent like NBA careers after being
Yep.
a part of the Spurs organization, even if they only played in spurts. You could even say that like Jock Landale's another example of that. He wasn't a two-way, but still just another example of somebody kind of coming in, as much as that was the NBL and not the G League in. That's just another example of somebody who comes into the NBA for the first time as kind of a lesser known player and makes a career for themselves. And I think as well, a little bit of the island connection. I know that obviously the Dominican Republic is not the same thing as the U.S. Virgin Islands, and of course, very different culturally, but still a little bit of that island connection with Timmy Duncan as well. I'm sure he was aware of him.
And like you said, the name Garcia, if he does get
Oh
on the
man.
actual Spurs, his jersey will be a top seller without a doubt.
Hey man, if we just get some two-way minutes in a blowout, at
Dude,
some point this season when he comes on the floor, they're gonna go crazy for him.
I might be wrong, Jude. I might have recency bias here. I know we've had some solid two-way guys in the
Uh huh.
past that have been absolute buckets. David Duke Jr. is probably the most recent one. But there's something about David Jones Garcia that has me a little bit more excited about his upside and ability to maybe make an impact on the real team. Jude, you have more what's the word I'm looking for? Experience watching these two-way guys and these G League players. Would you agree with that analysis?
I definitely would. I was trying to look up his NBA stats profile to see if I could get a game log of the summer league games for us here. But the what you're referencing, just his presence, like the way that he
Yeah.
just even this sounds so simple, but the way that he dribbles the ball up the floor and the way that you can tell that he's communicating with other guys and kind of orchestrating things and just viewing the floor, like his court vision with the ball in his hands, you can see it. You know what I mean? You can see
Hmm.
his surveillance of the floor, if you will, as a primary ball handler. So I definitely, you don't want to overreact to the summer league competition, but in that setting, he had the it factor. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the commentators were noticing it. He only had one game that he was off, and he still was impactful on defense and playmaking and on the boards. He really could control the pace of the game as well. I think one of the reasons, as much as I wanted to see it more, of course, when we were watching the games, him playing next to Dylan Harper, I think the reason that they didn't play them together so much is because both of them, as Winky's in the back, just messing. He's exploring the new terrain, Ethan.
Yeah.
But to get back to Dylan Harper and David Jones Garcia, both of them they were pace controllers. Both of them controlled the pace of the game and kind of set the pace of the game. So it was hard for both of them to do that at the same time. So I think that's
Yeah.
kind of why we didn't see them on the floor as much together. But also 53% on threes. So he's 6'6" or 6'5". So he's got some combo guard ability. He can still play off the ball. But I think when you were asking me that question, kind of just like the it factor when it comes to two-way guys, we'll say.
Hmm.
Um, I think that was just, again, because of kind of the presence that you saw, from him on the court.
100% agree. I think it's nice that we have a unexpected storyline to follow going into this season, Jude. Maybe you'll have a reason to watch some more Austin Spurs games. I know last year you kind of took the year off, a little bit of a hiatus for Jude McLaren. So
David Jones-Garcia will definitely get me back invested in a two-way player who could maybe earn some rotation minutes for the Spurs. That's for sure.
that's what the fans want to hear.
But on a serious note, Ethan, just, I kind of gave my breakdown of him a little bit there, but on court specifically, and this will kind of transition into our next topic, we're just going to be doing player evals for all of the summer league games that we saw. What were the things that stuck out to you about David Jones-Garcia in the games that we saw him in the summer league?
It's crazy to say this considering he was playing next to Dylan Harper for a couple of games and Carter Bryant, 2 lottery picks. But honestly, Jude, watching the game, he looked like the best player on the court every game except for that one small stinker that he had. Otherwise, it was his control of the game, like you said, the pace that he plays with. He had veteran poise for someone who's I think 24 years old.
I think
So
he
he's on
might be
the
even a little younger.
23. I guess
Mhm.
he's technically on the older side of the young, player.
Yeah.
But for someone with his experience in the G League already, someone who's kind of been around the horn, he played at a few different college programs for some pretty substantial coaches.
Mhm.
You can totally see that it like oozes off the screen. So I'm excited to see him really be the focal point of the Austin Spurs. And ideally, maybe not this year, maybe next year, but ideally, to me, he feels like a guy that can slot in that bench rotation in a year or two and kind of bring some energy, like similarly to a Jonathan Simmons back in the day. I know I bring him up a lot, especially when we talk about these two-way players, but that's kind of what you're looking for at the end of the day with Austin, right? Is to find a diamond in the rough with some upside, like David Jones-Garcia, that could eventually make a name for himself in the bench rotation. And so that's hopefully what we can see from him, and that's kind of what jumped off the screen watching him this summer league.
And just to we're going to get real far. We're talking like 2027, 2028 right now, Ethan. If we look at this bench rotation, okay, we've got a lot of guards on the team that are pretty good in like a
Mm-hmm.
De'Aaron Fox, a Stephon Castle, a Dylan Harper. And you and I believe that Devin Vassell is an above average guard in the NBA. And we believe that Keldon is a very solid, backup three, maybe even, an above average or a high value backup three. But regardless of that, Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell, those could, depending on how things go contract wise, those could just be some tough decisions that we've got to make. You know what I mean? Monetarily, because there's some other extensions that we've got coming down the pipe as well. There could be an open spot kind of in that 2 or 3 position in the
Mm-hmm.
backup rotation, or in a world as well where Dylan Harper moves into the starting lineup eventually one day. There could be a backup point guard position open as well. So there definitely, it may not be this season, but long term, that there could be some opportunities for David Jones-Garcia, to compete for some minutes there.
100%. He's the kind of guy I could see in next year. He gets like a 3-year team option contract on a very affordable deal. Like I could see that coming. Kind of what we did with Charles Bassey a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, that one didn't work out. We have hopes and prayers that this one will. Fingers crossed. But we will see how it works out this season, Jude.
100%. And, it also kind of lines up, Ethan, with, just that idea. Again, Julian Champagny, Sandro Mamukelashvili, they start off in a two-way, or Danny Green even. Let's go back to Danny Green, right?
Right?
They eventually earn, that long-term roster spot. So also, I was looking in the chat here on YouTube, Ethan, because I noticed we didn't see any on our restream. There are some that didn't pop up. So Goop Cat, he was in here earlier. He said, "We got DJG. Let's go." Cowboy Tanaka says, "Go Spurs, go." DJG getting that two-way, stay hungry. Then we've also got some other comments in here from Henry Rojas. He says, Jones Garcia looks like he can actually hit a wide open three. There you go. You love to see that from someone who can also handle the ball.
Right.
And then M here says DJG signing a two-way instead of going somewhere else really shows the type of player he wants to be, and that he's fully bought into the Spurs plan, which is great and shows how the organization works.
100%. It's kind of what I was saying at the beginning. Couldn't agree more.